Yo, check this out. Imagine a person who walked this earth, a character so unique he only happens once in a lifetime. This guy's name literally became an adjective for every dirty, shady, and low-life move you can think of. We're talking about the man who personified the phrase, "The end justifies the means in the darkest way possible." He didn't care who was standing in his way. He wouldn't even look at him. For him, the only thing that mattered was winning, at any cost. Today, we're diving deep into the life of Niccolò Machiavelli and his book, The Prince. This book wasn't just a read. It was the reason for his downfall and his destruction because he was just too honest. The Prince marks one of the darkest shifts in Western political thought. To me, it's basically a blueprint or a how-to guide on becoming a ruthless dictator. And not just any dictator, but one who actually gets results that always serve his own interests. It wasn't a book about ethics or philosophy. It was a cold, scientific manual on how to grab power and, underline this a million times, how to keep it no matter the price. I honestly see Machiavelli as a guy who shaped cinema. Most of the villains we love to hate, like the Joker, Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, or even Darth Vader, they all have a bit of Machiavelli in them. See, Machiavelli understood human nature. He knew what people wanted, but he ditched morality because he saw it as a roadblock, a weakness. In his world, if you want power, you've got to dump your principles, your ethics, and even your religion. The ultimate goal is supreme power, and there's no price too high to get there. Think about it like this. History has two sides of the same coin. One side represents the light, that's Marcus Aurelius. Machiavelli took the other side, the darkness. He did it with zero shame and total boldness. He's the physical embodiment of our dark side. He argues that we all have this darkness in us, but we mask it with morals and fake principles that just limit our opportunities. Machiavelli was totally chill with his dark side. He wasn't ashamed of it. He's showing you what people are actually capable of, and if you're hungry for power, you better know the cost is heavy. Why do we need to know about this guy? Because, man, I'll say it a million times. Knowing about evil doesn't make you a bad person. Knowing the dark side of the world doesn't make you an outcast. It's applying that knowledge for the wrong reasons that makes you a villain. The scariest thing in this world is being naive, not knowing how evil takes shape or what people are willing to do for power. And look, power isn't just about kings and presidents. You'll see this stuff in your 9 to 5, in your business, everywhere. Use Machiavelli's perspective as a lens to see the darkness, but be careful. Like Nietzsche said, if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you. Use this philosophy as a shield, not a weapon, because if you're exposed to evil for too long, you might start thinking it's normal. To understand why he thought like this, we gotta look at where he came from. Machiavelli was born into a time where political corruption and social chaos were through the roof. He came from a wealthy family, but his dad was the broke one of the bunch, with no power or connections. His dad wasn't religious, but his mom was the total opposite. That mix of skepticism about religion and morals created a massive internal conflict in him, which laid the foundation for Machiavellianism. He lived in Florence, which was a republic only on paper. Every 2 months, they'd pick a new leader, which sounds fair, right? Wrong. It was a total disaster, full of fraud and backstabbing. Then the Medici family stepped in, rigged the whole system, and turned Florence into a straight-up dictatorship. Corruption wasn't rare. It was the rule. Wars were everywhere, and generals would switch sides faster than you can blink. This chaotic environment shifted Machiavelli's entire worldview. He realized there's a massive gap between how things should be and how they actually are. Machiavelli had a VIP front-row seat to this political circus. He saw the price of being too nice or making a political blunder. Before he was 19, he watched the Medicis hang a rebel and leave his body out for weeks as a warning. This mix of brutality and corruption paved the way for his ideas. He was a plant that grew in poisonous soil. His career really took off when the Medicis were kicked out. He climbed the ladder fast, becoming a top advisor for Florence at 28. How did he get there so quickly? His direct, aggressive style, the same stuff he wrote about in The Prince. But here's the kicker. Many politicians back then thought he was a total failure. History shows that Florence's weakness wasn't his fault. The city was just falling apart from the inside. In 1512, the Republic fell, the Medicis came back, accused him of conspiracy, tortured him, and kicked him out. In exile, he wrote his most famous work. The prince was a gift, or more like a desperate hire-me letter, to Lorenzo de' Medici. For centuries, people thought a good leader had to be moral. Machiavelli flipped the script. He said a leader's job is to keep power, not to be a nice guy. He actually looked down on good morals, saying they cloud your judgment. And he didn't sugarcoat it. He gave us the cold, hard truth. He was obsessed with a guy named Cesare Borgia, a man everyone hated because he was so violent. But to Machiavelli, he was the ideal prince. There's a story where Borgia left his henchman, Diorco, to clean up a city using total brutality. Once the city was peaceful, but everyone hated Diorco, Borgia had him executed in the public square to look like the hero who stopped the violence. Machiavelli used this to teach a lesson. Always have someone else do your dirty work so you can stay clean. Machiavelli poses the famous question: is it better to be loved or feared? He says, sure, both would be great, but if you have to choose, go with fear. Love is fickle. People will screw you over the second it's in their interest. But fear? People are always afraid of consequences. That's a constant. But he warns, be feared, but never be hated. If you gotta use violence, do it fast and get it over with. Be a friend when you can, but a beast when you must. He says you don't actually have to be good, you just have to look good. We're visual creatures, we judge by appearances. Show the world a perfect, flawless image, but keep the darkness hidden. I've noticed this in my own life. The people who claim to be perfect usually have the biggest skeletons in their closets. Have you guys noticed that too? Or am I just paranoid? Machiavelli didn't care about right or wrong. He only cared about success or failure. He talked about virtù, skill/drive, and fortuna, luck. He said luck is 50% of life, but the other 50% is how you adapt. You've got to be like a chameleon, changing with the weather. He tells us not to suppress the beast inside, but to learn how to dance with it. It's crazy how we're more drawn to dark characters than good ones. Maybe it's because Machiavelli shows us what we'd become if we just gave in. He says you gotta be a lion to scare the wolves, but a fox to spot the traps. He warns that the price of success is your soul. You have to ditch your morals to reach the top, because if you don't, someone else will. But here's the sad part. Machiavelli's plan didn't even work for him. He wrote the book to get back into power, but nobody wants to hire the guy who just published a book on how to be a backstabber. He was too honest for his own good. His book was banned by the church and called The Work of the Devil. He died a month after another political failure, totally frustrated. His only real legacy is showing us the dark side. Whether you agree with him or not, Machiavellianism is real. It's the idea that friends and morals are just baggage. If you go down that path, there's a heavy psychological price to pay. Doing good feels good, but you can't be naive. I made this to show you these tactics so you can use them as a shield. Protect yourself from the foxes in your life, your job, and your world. Know the darkness so it can't blindside you. But please, don't become the thing you're trying to guard against. Stay sharp, stay safe.